WildEarthTV, you are live.
Good afternoon everybody, and welcome to the magnificent northeast corner of South Africa, recently voted the most wonderful and beautiful country in the world on planet Earth. We're sitting in the Great Kruger National Park, 2.2 million hectares, 3.5 million acres of wilderness wonderland, which expands north into Zimbabwe and east into Mozambique to form the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, which is 8 million acres of wilderness wonderland. You are on a very live safari, which means that this is unedited, and that means we'd love for you to talk to us, ask us about what we're seeing, give us comments about what you think we should be seeing, and just generally have a conversation about the wildlife here and the country and the continent at large. My name is James Henry. On camera today we've got David. Hello, David.
Hi there, James.
You've got something under your hat there. It's a buff, is it?
It's a buff.
Yes, that's a very modern thing. I don't know what a buff is. I've never worn one in my life. And then sitting, riding a shotgun, as it were, is Sam, who will be taking you on a drive tomorrow morning. Hello, Sam.
Hi there.
Yes, there we go. And if you do wish to talk to us, and indeed we encourage it, hashtag Safari Live if you're on the tweet, like those oxpeckers that you can hear calling there. That's them. Or questions at WildEarthTV if you'd like to talk to us on the email. You can also, if you're watching on YouTube, use the YouTube chat function, which, as I've said before, is totally beyond my understanding. Now, for those of you who are keeping bird lists, we've just spotted a very special bird that is nomadic. In other words, not migratory, but nomadic. It comes in and out of an area, and I don't see it anymore, unfortunately, but I will show you a picture of what it was, and we will keep an eye out for it, because they'll normally come into an area for a little while and then they'll go away. And that bird is the lark-like bunting. The lark-like bunting. And Susie, you're on Twitter and you say you would like to see a cheetah. In fact, you repeated that you would like to see a cheetah 4 or 5 times. There's some buffalo looking a bit upset at the moment behind us. I think they're just having an old man's squabble, to be honest. Those are some hardy-dars flying off. Now, my plan this afternoon, and therefore your plan, although, as Susie has just done, she's made a suggestion, you're welcome to do that throughout the afternoon, well, within reason, of course. My plan is to drive around this vicinity and see if we can't spot what was making some monkey's alarm call earlier. Let's just watch these two buffalo. They're either having a fight with each other or they've seen a predator. No, I think it's a fight with each other. But I have seen these buffalo chasing Karula around here. She's slunk in down the bottom and underneath the dam there. I don't think that's what's going on. I think it might be just worth having a little look over the edge there. Now, Karula, for those of you who might be first-time watchers, is our favorite leopard, basically. She's almost 12. She's about to have her 12th birthday. And she is the queen of Djuma, and therefore the queen of Safari Live. So let's just stick our noses over the top here. I think it's these two old bulls, though, having a little argument about life. Now, what she does sometimes do is come through this area. She wanders along the dam, has a bit of a drink, gets chased out by the buffalo, and then she lies in the bushes here. A very beautiful dappled golden coat hidden by those worry bushes. Anyway, I don't think she's in there at the moment. Now, while we wait and just see if there aren't any further alarm calls, that buffalo is causing a lot of trouble. I'm just going to show you, for those of you who are keeping bird lists, and I know there are quite a few of you, the lark-like bunting. And let's keep an eye out for him, or her, they are the same. There is the lark-like bunting. So it's a pretty nondescript bird, but for that very clear stripe over the top of the head, and the stripe, what we'd call a moustachial stripe, down underneath the eye and next to the bill. Also, the bill is distinctly two-coloured, pink on the bottom and grey on the top. Not common at all in this area. You can find them in other areas quite commonly, but not really here. So they will come in. They are nomadic, as I said. So that'll be a good one for the list, and I guarantee it. In fact, I'll be astonished if anybody has that on their list. We're going to try and get out of here. I'm going to drive down the road there a little bit, see if we can pick up on some tracks. Let's head across to Scott. He's looking around where Karula was this morning, where her tracks were, and I'll catch up with you a little later.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Scott, and it's a great pleasure to have you on safari with me and also VM on camera. We've just stumbled upon a herd of elephants which are off to our left. I'm just trying to decide which is going to be our best spot to sit and wait for them to approach us, that way giving them the choice of how close they would like to come. And I've got a feeling that maybe just somewhere up ahead here. We may need to be patient for a little while to get good views, but like I say, the benefits of trying to guess where elephants are going to move can pay off greatly, because that way, like I say, they can come quite close to you. Reverse it, you can see a little bit of elephantine movement over there, a large ear flapping. That's one of the cows from the herd. I'm not too sure how big this herd is. Let me creep forward a bit. Let's just stay here for a second. And you'll notice that her temporal glands are weeping quite heavily. This is a great emotional indicator for elephants. And what exact emotions she is feeling, I cannot be certain just yet, but always good just to be wary of those individuals, as they may be a little bit moody. It's quite a warm, muggy afternoon. Despite it being overcast, this cloud cover just started blocking out the sun literally about 15 minutes ago. But before that, we had baking sunshine. So don't be fooled by the cloudy weather. It is still hot and humid, and that'll explain why this big elephant cow is fanning her ears at the rate which she is. It's in order to cool blood, which is pumped through her ears at an incredible rate, thus cooling down her core body temperature. We are in the general area of where we last had tracks of a female leopard this morning. I'm guessing it was Karula, and she will hopefully poke her head out at some stage. Failing that, maybe some of our local animal police force, the squirrels, the impalas, the monkeys, a lot of the animals which alarm call and help us hugely in finding predators, will possibly find her before us, and that way we'll be able to hear them shouting and screaming, trying to call us there to get a better view of her. So that's what we're hoping for. We did also have some monkey alarm calls this morning north of the Djuma waterhole, so possibly another leopard lurking up there. Not sure who that could be. Maybe Tingana, maybe that skittish, nervous male that Brent saw a few days ago. Sadly, none of you were on his vehicle. He was guiding some Djuma guests, but there could be another leopard lurking around that area. Other than that, updates, I'm not sure if James told you, the Nkuhuma Pride are east of us on Torchwood, not too far from our eastern boundary, and they are with one of the Birmingham males, who is apparently trying to make love with apparently all of them, not just anyone in specific, but they were not giving in to his intentions. So that's exciting prospects almost for tomorrow. They could well come back to Djuma in the course of the night, and like I said, something to look forward to on the sunrise safari. So they have been found and established. We did have a little bit of fun tracking them. They skirted through the northeastern corner of Djuma last night, and then straight out of our traverse area, sadly. Let me see what we should do with these elephants. They are slowly making their way towards us, but I'm not too sure where our best spot is going to be. Like I said, we might just need to be patient. This will do for now, I guess. This one big cow is slowly making her way towards us. And now you'll be getting better views of those weeping temporal glands. We saw a cow, was it yesterday afternoon, I think, that was heavily pregnant. I'm not sure if this is the same one, but it would be great if it is. That female is about to give birth, and I've never seen an elephant give birth. It would be a great privilege to watch an event like that unfold. And I think very few guides in a lifetime of guiding will not see something like that. What have you spotted there, VM? Ah, crested francolin. And, oh, I did a little performance there for all of you. Like so many of the birds, they are really wonderful to look at, but it can be tricky unless they're close by to appreciate their beauty. But as you can see, that one has got exquisite feathers and coloration. She's got interesting tusks, this lady. One is much longer than the other, and one also grows inwards. And judging by those tusks, it doesn't look like the same elephant cow that was heavily pregnant yesterday. And on top of that, her belly, we can see, is not protruding as it should be if she was pregnant. But we are getting spoilt with some great views almost straight down her mouth here as she feeds. Using that incredibly complex tool, the trunk. To be able to break off these tasty morsels. Tando, you just said, are we about to witness an Ellie birth? And I wish we were, but I don't think we are in the right spot just yet. We've got the wrong Ellie. And I mean, the chances of getting it right are huge. I mean, they've got a 22-month gestation period, so to be there on the right day after nearly 2 years of internal production, I guess emphasizes exactly how lucky you would be. Oh, a lot of you may be wondering where the rest of the Ellies are. They are slowly probably making their way towards us. I think VM may have spotted another crested francolin there that he may have decided to go for, but I think it's disappeared off into the undergrowth. The very sparse undergrowth. Look at how dry the ground is. I mean, not much to feed on here. Oh, you found some pugnacious ants. And these are quite nasty little critters. Look at how fast moving they are. And they do bite. Friendly sampling bites, nothing too serious, but they will latch onto you. If you were to stand in a patch of those pugnacious ants for 30 seconds or so, they'll start climbing up your legs and giving you little nips. I think Nikki may have spotted a dung ball, which looked like... Oh, well done, Nikki, you're right. Yeah, I missed that. So what would have happened here is, VM, if you just pan upwards, you can see all that loose earth. That's where the dung ball would have been excavated from. So there you can see the hole in the ground, and an animal like a honey badger or possibly a white-tailed mongoose would have smelt that dung ball and the grub growing within it under the ground, where the adult dung beetle would have buried that bolus of dung with one egg in it, which would have matured into a larvae, and then either honey badger or mongoose would have smelt it, dug it out, broke open that ball of dung, and there you can see the open cavity where it would have pulled out the grub. Well spotted, Ranger Austin. Thank you for your help there. Okay, well, while we wait for a better view of this herd of elephants, which it will get to at some point, we are going to send you to James, who's at a waterhole.
Now, we've just come across here to the Gallagher waterhole to see if we couldn't find some tracks of the leopard. There are 3 more beefalo bulls here. they are eating something quite interesting. Dave, can I ask you to just zoom in on what that buffalo is eating? Buffalo are known predominantly, of course, as grazers, but in an environment like this, that is not always possible because there's no grass, and he's eating a sort of quite aromatic herb at the moment. I don't believe that would be his first choice of food. You can see he's not exactly devouring it. He's kind of eating it with long teeth, as it were. That, of course, is a very amusing joke, David, because buffalo don't have long teeth. That is quite interesting. Boyd, nice question in North Carolina. I'm going to come back to you in 1 second. We're just sitting here because there were some monkeys alarm calling around here after the sunrise drive. Now I'm just sitting here to see if we can't hear anything further by way of alarm call. While I do that, Boyd, a nice question. You want to know about, you've obviously noticed that the buffalo sit with the hippo in that other water hole, and you say you found it quite interesting that the hippo tolerate the buffalo, given that you've heard and perhaps read that hippo are tremendously aggressive. Hippo are not aggressive per se. They are very easily threatened, Boyd, which means that they are highly dependent on water, and that means if their water source is threatened, they will become extremely nasty very fast. Now, the arrangement there at the Djuma waterhole is actually developed over a number of weeks. It started off with the hippo in there, and he wouldn't let anyone near the water for a little while, and the buffalo slowly kind of insinuated themselves on the situation, and eventually they were lying sort of cheek by jowl, if you like, in a very friendly arrangement. So it has taken a bit of time to develop, and it's a fascinating little relationship that has developed. And I suspect as this drought wears on and the water becomes more concentrated, so we will see those sort of unusual relationships developing around food sources and around water sources. Very nice question. Thank you, Boyd. Okay, we're going to carry on back down the road now and just keep a listen and see if we can't find some tracks for Karula. That buffalo is looking over the edge there, so I'm going to go and look where he's looking. While I do that, let's go back across to Scott, who is still with the elephants.
Welcome back, everyone. And it appears like we've got into a much better spot. That funny little beeping sound was just synchronizing the bundle of cameras in the bottom left of your screen, which is a virtual reality rig, which films 360 degrees. Now, this is the youngster of the elephant cow that we have been viewing, and it looks like quite a little playful individual. When you're getting into position, we have to, oh, there we go, that's what I'm talking about. When we did a loop ahead and get back into a fortunate position here where we can have a much better view of them, it was kind of trundling a male. Hello, boy. Why don't you come and say hello to us? Hello to Sneesha, who's watching in India, and wonderful to have you with us, Sneesha. How cute is this little elephant? Quite different to your Indian elephants, and you are interested to know, why are they so different? Why do they have such bigger ears than the Indian elephants? And Sneesha, I'm not entirely sure. You guys have got hot weather out there as well, so hard for me to describe, because like I say, the weather climates are quite similar between India and Africa, as far as I'm aware. So it's something that I've thought about myself, but never been able to pinpoint. Settle down, lady. She just gave us a little bit of attitude, so due to that, we are going to head in the opposite direction, because to be honest, I don't want to have any admin with a large elephant cow this afternoon. And the whole herd seem to have heavily seeping and weeping temporal glands. I'm not sure if they've had a stressful scenario. Who knows? Maybe with other animals, maybe with humans in the Kruger National Park elsewhere. I'm not sure, but she did kind of give us a bit of action there. You didn't see it, but take my word for it. And it's important to just respect animals, and if they're in a bad mood, leave them be. So Snisha, like I say, I'm not too sure if any of you guys know why an Indian elephant would have a smaller ear than an African elephant. Please shed some light on it. I am not certain as to why that is the case. For the African elephant, it's an incredibly important thermoregulatory tool, and why the Indian elephants would not require that, I'm not too sure. Leon, not a bad theory that you've put forward, saying that African elephants will typically not have as much cover to move in. And that's not to say it's not very hot in the jungles that they move in. So, yes, I agree, sunshine may not be a problem for Indian elephants, but heat still is. India is a hot and humid country. Snisha, correct me if I'm wrong. Not hugely dissimilar to parts of Africa where African elephants move. This is a really big old warthog. He doesn't have the hugest tusks, but I think he is on the older age. Ooh, just heard a squirrel alarm call. I think there is, well, there was a second warthog earlier before we came across this herd of elephants, and I think it is, yeah, you can just see it moving in the background there behind that dead bush. That one is an incredibly fine specimen. He's a big boy. So if we get to see that other one that is behind there, we'll be in luck. So Leon, yes, your theory is certainly plausible, but it's a heat thing. It's not a sunshine thing, and even in tropical jungles of India, it gets warm. So I'm not convinced that that is necessarily myth-busted. Let's see if we can creep forward a little bit. Yeah, the other one's about to pop out there, I think. Look at the size of those tusks. He is a brute. The one in the back. And even his body did appear bigger than what I think is an old male that's kind of beginning to wither away. Interestingly, you'll notice that he's feeding on his elbows. And I guess it's just a lot more comfortable for warthog, having their neck at a easier incline as they nibble on the very short roots and grass. Now he's standing up. Good. I just had one little squirrel alarm call, nothing too serious, up in this direction, possibly for a bird of prey, can't be certain. Kruger guy, you have mentioned, aren't most elephants born at night? Nope, not that I've heard, but maybe that is the case. What we need to remember is, just like humans, animals can't decide when it's going to suit them to give birth, maybe up to a very slight degree, but when it's time for the baby to come, it comes. Come night, day, rain or shine. You know, I think it's fair to say that not many animals. There's rumors that impala can hold back their pregnancy, but the key word there is rumors. It is not true. It would be biologically quite a fascinating scenario if any animal could decide when it wanted to give birth. And I don't think there are many that can decide to when, or at least mammals, when they can decide to do that. A big thank you to James Taylor, who's been doing some research for all of us, and hugely grateful for that, James. Apparently, in general, India is cooler. It's humid, possibly more humid than Africa in those rainforests and jungles that occur there. But it's not hotter, so it's merely an evolutionary thing when African elephants' ear may have grown to become bigger, to become a better cooling device. And Indian elephants, who knows, maybe they stayed the same size as the original elephants, or maybe they got smaller. But it's an evolutionary adaptation, so thank you for that. Hi there, Virginia. You would like to know if young elephants will ever be inquisitive and come up to the vehicles? Yes, most certainly. They sometimes come charging right up to what we call the bonnet of the vehicle, or the hood of the vehicle, to show us how big and strong they are. And sometimes even the big adults will come in and sniff around, inquisitive of our smells emanating from the vehicle. So yes, most certainly we've had, all the presenters have had some really moving experiences with elephants, big and small, coming very, very close to the vehicle. So sometimes you get lucky. In today's scenario, Virginia, that elephant car was not in the most welcoming of moods. But that very same elephant on another day could be a lot more relaxed and a lot more welcoming. So that's an important thing to remember with animals. Just like humans, people will react differently on different days, different occasions. So you can never assume that you can treat one animal the same way on a daily basis. Good. We're going to send you across to James, who's found a magnificent spiral-horned antelope.
This is a very shy spiral-horned antelope, of course, Mrs. Spiral-horned antelope, the kudu. Female, beautiful cow there, covered in oxpeckers and hiding behind a bush. She wasn't at all bashful until you came across, so she's obviously very shy. She knew when had gone live, and she's now hiding. Let's just reverse a bit and try and get a better view of her. She won't be alone. I think there are a few of them in here. Yes. There are also some buffalo grazing off into this woodland. Now, while we look at her, just an interesting thing, I used the term woodland, which is not something a lot of people associate with Africa, especially those who watch the documentaries that come out of East Africa and that sort of thing. You associate Africa with savanna, vast swathes of grassland with the odd acacia tree poking its nose up. Here in the eastern parts of South Africa, it's largely what we call woodland, and this is called a broadleafed or combretum woodland, and that's why we get so many things like kudu and nyala and bushbuck and the other browsing antelope, also duiker, which you wouldn't perhaps get nearly as much of in an area where there was more grass and less in the way of woody species. Now, Deborah, a very salient question, which Desiree, sorry, you're in Indiana. Say that, David, after a day in the sun in Indiana. Desiree, you want to know about quarantine, and it's a term we throw out all the time, and it's an area. Yes, you're absolutely correct. It's an area of land, it's a clearing off to the east of where we're sitting now, where it's a good place to drive around. It's an artificial clearing in that it has been cleared by people, and it looks much more like a savanna area. But it's called quarantine clearings because I think at one stage there was a boma, which is a kind of protective cage or wooden cage that they'd put animals in order to quarantine them before introduction into the wild, and that's why it's called quarantine clearings. Very good question, and I must keep remembering to explain that, because I'm sure it must be very strange if you are a new viewer and you don't know what quarantine clearings is, to hear that we are going to quarantine. You must think that we all have some kind of a disease that we need to get rid of periodically. That is not the case. Well, not as far as I'm aware, anyway. Okay, we're going to carry on driving along here. This is very wonderful to hear. Sem, you're in Holland, and you say it's your first time watching the stream and you're having a good time. I'm so pleased, but you also say that you sometimes find it a little bit difficult to understand. Well, I'm sorry about that. We will attempt to speak clearly and with clarity, but I must just say, Sem, that your fellow countrymen, of all the European nations that I used to drive when I was a guide, I found them the most amazing speakers of languages. They always spoke a number of different languages that weren't their own, and I've always been tremendously impressed by the language skills of Dutch people, Sem. So please keep watching and send us any questions, and if there's anything you don't understand that we say, you're more than welcome to ask us to clarify it. Sometimes, of course, I say this quite often, the Twitter handles that people have amuse me to no end. And antelope. You want to know what my favorite antelope is? Well, antelope, I can actually answer that. My favorite antelope is the nyala. I think they're the most magnificent. I enjoy the bulls and their fluffy charcoal grey coats with stripes, and their strange sort of mane of white hair that go all the way down their backs. I find them fascinating to watch. I think that rich red chestnut colour of the females is really stunning. So they're my favourite antelope, the nyala. Antelope, could you perhaps tell us where your Twitter handle comes from? Are you a great antelope fan?
Crossing into Torture, that's Djuma.
Now, if we look over here, David, if you wouldn't mind, at this large tree here, I'm pleased to note, first of all, that we have found already more heartbeats than we did in 3 hours this morning, so I'm feeling slightly relieved. This particular organism that we're looking at doesn't have a heartbeat because it is a tree, and we know trees don't have heartbeats, as far as we're aware. And the reason I've come past here is that I just had a feeling that maybe Karula would be in this tree, because this is the most perfect leopard tree on Djuma. It is called a jackalberry, or Diospirus mespeloformes, and what it has got now are its new leaves. And it's what we call a semi-deciduous tree. You can see its foliage is not very thick, and that means that it will lose its leaves at sort of periodically throughout the year. Ooh, listen to that. Did you hear that, Dave? Thunder rolling across the plains. Ooh, that's a nice sound. I do hope it brings some rain. Anyway, this tree loses its leaves in a sort of random, haphazard fashion, and whenever the conditions are not very good, like they haven't been good now, I suspect it's taking a very long time to get its new leaves, and I suspect it's probably putting not much emphasis on making new leaves at the moment. You'll probably find the tree is in a state of dormancy. And a huge tree like this, in times of trouble or times of tough, like we're having now, and like we're probably going to continue to have, it will actually sacrifice a limb. So you'll find one of those huge branches, perhaps that one off to the right there that's looking a bit sparsely leafed, perhaps that will be sacrificed. The tree will simply cut off circulation to that part of the tree, and it will die off. And I just find that astonishing. We tend to think of plants as being well, kind of unintelligent and unconscious, which they may well be, but they certainly have evolved remarkable strategies to cope with living out here in the wilderness. I was just hoping there might be a leopard in there. There isn't, so we're going to turn round and continue down, basically towards the tracks where the tracks were this morning. Lisa, you've got some advice for Sam. Sam, Lisa says don't eat any leaves that I might offer you. Lisa, it's not very kind. But interestingly, Lisa, I mean, apart, I know you're not being completely serious, well, maybe you are, but there's actually so little at the moment that is worth trying to eat because it's all dry and nasty. And, of course, we had Gracie in Ohio saying to me, please don't eat the leaves, of course, because the animals need to eat the leaves. And I must heed the requests of Gracie in Ohio, so we won't be doing much eating of the leaves. Good point. Thank you, Nicola, for reminding me of that. Brilliant. Now, Monique, you're in London and you want to see a wildebeest today. Well, that's an unusual request. It's a very good request. Wildebeest are, I think, highly entertaining, very interesting animals. And you say you were watching the Pete's Pond feed yesterday. The Pete's Pond feed is in Mashatu, which is just across the Botswana border from here. And you say you saw a wildebeest hanging about with some zebra, and you want to know if that's common. Does it happen often? You thought you saw it twice. Your eyes are not deceiving you, Monique. You're probably very correct indeed. A wildebeest bull, remember, is a solitary creature, and what he does is he sets up a territory which normally has three things. He's normally got a rubbing post in it, he'll have a midden, and he'll have a good shade tree in his little territory. It's a very small postage stamp sized territory. It's even smaller in East Africa. And then he will try and herd the lady wildebeest into that territory when it's time for mating. But if it isn't time for mating, he's on his own. And of course that's a dangerous thing for any animal to be out here. And so often you will find single wildebeest bulls mixing with herds of zebra, or maybe even mixing with impala herds. Often we see them with impala around here. So that's not unusual. Then in East Africa, where you get those massive herds of wildebeest, 2 million of them streaming across the plains as the year goes on during the Great Migration, and you'll find coming either in front of them, in fact normally in front of them, will be the zebra. Have I got that right? No, just behind them will be the zebra, because the zebra eats slightly shorter grass, and that means that the wildebeest go through an area, they mow the grass to a good height for the zebra, and then the zebra will eat them. But I think you'll find that the reason that single bull was with the herd of zebra was because he was seeking out protection from their extra eyes. Nice one. Thank you, Monique. We have another request for an animal today. Oh gosh. Donna. Some of you may have been watching a little while back and you saw Brian and I do a rain dance, the original rain dance with Jean-Dre and I. And Donna, you say, because I've said, well, you can request anything within reason, you'd ask to see another rain dance. I'm going to try and convince Dave and Sam that they should join me for a rain dance by the end of the drive, and we'll see what happens. I think that's on the edge of what is a reasonable request and what isn't. Dave's gone pale. Sam just jumped off the vehicle and ran off into the bush. I don't think we'll see him again. Oh, goodness. Hello, Sean. You're in Secunda. And to know how many languages I can speak, and can I give you an example of each? Well, I can speak a bit of English, I'm generally giving an example of that most of the time. Then I can speak, well, I should be able to speak better Afrikaans than I can. Afrikaans, of course, is the other European-based language here, derived from Dutch, a very simple version of Dutch. And ek kan 'n bietjie Afrikaans praat, maar as ek Afrikaans praat, Afrikaners dink ek praat Afrikaans soos I'm not going to continue that sentence because it was about to get bad. But basically that's Afrikaans, and I said that I don't speak it very well, and Afrikaans speaking people don't think I speak it very well, and with good reason. And then I dabble with Zulu. Oh, and there's a waterbuck. I will give you this little I'll give you this little sighting in Zulu, shall we? So we would say amagama yezilwane yama waterbuck kumbe amaphiva athanda kuhlamba emanzini. That means the waterbuck like to swim in the water. So that's what it would be in isiZulu. Now if we said the same thing in Shangaan, which is the other language I dabble in, we would say tiphiva litia teranza kuhlamba ematini. That would be the same thing. The waterbuck over here like to swim in the water. Tijabjani, they eat grass. And there are some difficult words in those, in two indigenous languages. That obviously the Zulu, the most obviously difficult thing are the clicks, if you are not used to them. A Q is, an X is as if you were trying to make a horse go, and a C is as if you were not very happy with somebody's actions. And then the difficult one in Shangaan is this kind of, it's like a whistling Z. So you say Jani, which means grass. Jani Jaguptuka, which means the red grass. Okay, that's enough of that nonsense. Let's head across to Scott. He's with a small pony.
Karibuni ya punda ya mute. Mimi napenda hizi punda kwa sababu iko na karibu ya barabarani, alafu iko na rangi ni mzuri. Rangi is colors in Kiswahili. That is the language I've been speaking in. And I'm told that you and James have been chatting in isiZulu. My Kiswahili is awfully rusty. And as I was speaking there, I was scratching for certain words. But their name is Punda in Kiswahili. And Nikki reassures me that, don't worry, you all noticed that I was really battling to string the sentence together there. But isn't this a cute little zebra? It's certainly got a prance about it when it runs off in front of its mother. And I'm not sure if James has heard any thunder across where he is traversing on Djuma, but there is some thunder rumbling in the distance. So maybe, just maybe, we are going to get lucky and we're going to get some rain. Although the clouds aren't looking as gloomy as I'd like them to. No further sign of Kurula, the Queen of Djuma, a leopardess who we were tracking in this area just to the right of us this morning. So I'm not too sure where she has disappeared to. I did just hear some francolins take off in a great terror. Chip, 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 chip. So they got a fright from something. Maybe it was her on the move. But only time will tell. Hello to James Dungan. You would like to know if we see any gazelles in this part of Africa. And no, we don't see any gazelles here. There's a Thompson's gazelle and Grant's gazelle that occur in large numbers up in East Africa, but they don't come this far south. The springbok is a gazelle that's similar to the Thompson's and Grant's gazelle that we see here. It is the emblem for our South African rugby team, the Springbok, and it is also the name of them. Let's see if these hornbills aren't going to do their fancy call for us. It looks like they're warming up to it. BM was trying to keep both in frame because they can hold out their wings and do a really fancy display. Maybe they are trying to call in this rain. I can also hear a squirrel alarm calling off to our left, so I'm scanning off in the bush in that direction. Not sure what they've seen. Come on! Oh, no. This is the yellow-billed hornbill, very distinctive large yellow bill. They've got a cousin called the red bill that also occurs in this area. Let's carry on. I don't think we're going to get to see their call. I just want to see what the squirrel has seen. It's interestingly letting off a call that indicates that it's been doing it for quite a while. It's not like all of a sudden got a big fright. It's just reminding everything in this area that there's some kind of danger here. You could almost imagine being tired of shouting and screaming after the initial shock of finding anything dangerous. And it's just doing like a maintenance call now, you could almost say. Where is it? You'll be able to hear it somewhere, I think, in this marula tree. They have been taking me on quite a few wild chases, the tree squirrels of this area. Oh, no, hang on, VM, check the hornbill that's just landed in the tree on the left. You got it there? Just zoom straight in. It's in the center of your shot there at the lower end of this marula. Yeah, there we go. Lower left. There. It's dropping into the nest. There we go. And that will explain exactly what the problem was. And that is that it is not a squirrel that is calling. It is the baby hornbills that I'm getting confused with. And they are in that cavity begging the parents for food. There's the cavity there on the marula tree. In that hole is where the noise is coming from, so apologies, and I got stumped by a baby hornbill, but it wasn't great that we got to see it feeding. They've got a fascinating nesting regime, and that is that the females will enclose themselves within that cavity and they'll use mud and excrement to just create a very thin coin slot that only allows the males to feed in little bugs to them. Once they've done a full feather molt, incubated the eggs and they've hatched, they've tended to them for a few days, they then break out and leave the youngsters in the nest, and then both male and female will tend to the feeding of them. Could be their second clutch of the summer. Hi there, Jackson, and as the thunder rumbles in the distance, you would like to know if animals are more active before a storm. Some animals, yes, are certainly more active. I know harvested termites can be good indicators that rain is coming. They will get as much little grass pieces and stuff that they can into their subterranean homes. So yes, harvested termites are active. Mammal-wise, not that I've really noticed. You may find some birds moving towards rain, or some animals that may have this uncanny ability to predict rain or know where it may rain may move into those areas. But I've never noticed any stark differences between animals' behavior before rain. After rain, yes. They can run around jumping for joy, literally showing incredible happiness, and it'll be emphasized now because of the drought conditions we're experiencing. Any little drops of rain are going to make any of the mammals and a lot of the animals very happy. The birds will start singing. Speaking of happy animals, you wouldn't believe what the Nkuhuma Pride and the one Birmingham male got up to in the course of the day. They killed a buffalo. Again, to the east of our property. That is what Brent is enjoying watching now. Obviously nobody got to see the action except for the lions themselves. Let me just ask Brent if it was a big buffalo.
Myself and Bernie.
That will be interesting.
Good, how you doing?
I'm guessing it was a big Cape buffalo, but a big bull, but maybe not. Brent, was it a buffalo bull?
Negative, Scott. It's a cow, so they've just taken the features out as well.
Okay, copy, thanks. Okay, so it's not a bull, I was wrong. It is a cow.
Just a quick summary.
And as you may have heard Brent saying, she was heavily pregnant, and he's just pulled, the lions have just opened her up and pulled the fetus out. So unfortunate for her, but it is a reality. Heavily pregnant females do become targets for the predators for obvious reasons. They can't move as quickly carrying that large baby around in their belly. Hello, Tony in London, and you would like to know how efficient our communication is with surrounding camps and lodges. It's a tricky question. Not tricky, but it's basically, it's not as good as it should be. There's varying degrees of varying channels of communication, Tony. Basically, there's a WhatsApp group that most guides in the Sabi Sands are on, and that's for the entirety of the Sabi Sands. And it's really useful, but it's mainly for lion updates, wild dog updates, and cheetah updates. Not so much leopard, because those are more localized movements and for specific areas of the Sabi Sands, more specific areas of the Sabi Sands. So the update group that caters for the entire Sabi Sands, like I say, is for mainly lion and wild dog. Animals that roam far and have big impacts on one another. The one pride obviously has an impact on the other pride. The one coalition of dominant males has an impact on the other dominant coalition of males. So we've got fairly good understanding of where most of the prides of lion are, even some that we'll never see in our whole careers here. But with surrounding properties that even neighbor us, we don't have at the moment the best communications. You know, sometimes animals can cross into Djuma and we don't get the messages at all until maybe on that WhatsApp group or somebody sends us an SMS. So it's not as slick and efficient as we would like it to be, but I'm sure it will get there at some point. There have been lots of changes from an analog radio system. Now some people have got a digital radio system, so it's basically not as slick as it could be. And that's the reason why sometimes we'll miss out on sightings. I mean, even the fact that we've got the Arathusa Game Drive channel at the moment, we can hardly hear the guys when we go across there. So it's a reality that we could be there and a sighting could unfold and we could know nothing about it. Looks like we may be in luck with a little bit of rain. There's some eerie colors and clouds out to the west. Let's hope they keep coming towards us. James Taylor, you would like to know if we ever have tornadoes in South Africa. Not really, no. Sometimes Mozambique has cyclones. Cyclones and tornadoes are essentially the same thing. I think they're just called different things in different hemispheres or different parts of the world, essentially. But no, we are incredibly fortunate in South Africa. We don't have many natural disasters, earthquakes, tornadoes. You know, we're quite lucky with regards to those kinds of things here, and we'll seldom experience them. If so, it may just be a tiny little dust devil here and there, or a little bit of a windier day than normal, but nothing too serious. There's a very pretty bird perched up on the dead tree. Hello, lilac-breasted roller. And, oh, look at this, VM. Straight ahead of us in the dead tree. What are we picking up? Just straight ahead of us in the dead tree. If you zoom in, you'll see. That's, sorry, more to the right. That's more to the right of that. If you keep going, there's. Sorry, Vim. Yeah, that one. No, I'm not sure if this is the same martial eagle, but it is in fact a martial eagle, the same bird that we did see this morning, flying off with a monitor. Oh, what has it got there? It was just a hornbill flying below it.
Stations, just to make you aware, there'll be a lot of stuff happening in the Willowati.
But we did see a martial eagle with a monitor lizard kill this morning. Not the closest visual, but at least we did get to see it then and now. And that is one of the aerial kings of Djuma. 2.5 meter wingspan, the ability to be able to catch baby impala. It is a formidable animal. There's some rain. VM has found for you guys. It's way off in the distance, but it may, if we're lucky, continue out to us here on Djuma. Fingers crossed. We're going to send you back to James now and continue our search for anything exciting. We now are on the western kind of frontiers of Djuma.
Buffalo Kill, Torchwood, Brent Leo Smith. I'm struggling to contain my sense of jealousy, maintain my decorum in the face of such a thrilling event that occurred so close to us, and yet we were unable to see it. Anyway, such is the way of things in the wilderness. We are on the Cheetah Cut line, heading north towards the northeastern corner of Djuma, and they were then going to head to the west. Can't head east of here. Well, we can, but it's illegal. We're going to head west from here towards Sydney's Dam and see if we can't find some elephants or something going on there. The last 2 times Scott has been there, he's managed to find all sorts of things. Now, Jackson, you're on Twitter. You want to know what happens when it rains to the roads. Do they become mired and muddy and impossible to drive on? Jackson, it really does. This is not a facetious answer. It really depends on how much water we get. So if you have more than 20 millimeters, which would be considered an inch, you can get quite a lot of mud, quite a lot of puddles. But on this land, which is granitic soils, so the underlying rock type here is granite, and so the soils are normally sandy and fairly well drained. The chances of getting a really muddy area where you could get stuck are small. Some parts of the Sabi sands also are underlain by a rock called gabbro, and that makes a much thicker, what we call black cotton soil. And then after 20 millimeters of rain or so, yes, you can get stuck just driving along the road. So it really does depend on the soil type and the amount of rain that we have. Here on Djuma, I think we'd be pretty much okay with almost any amount of rain. I think certainly up to at least 100 millimeters or so, which would be just under 5 inches. We'd be absolutely fine driving on the roads. This dust that you can see now is completely unseasonal. We shouldn't be getting dust now. It's normally a completely dust-free time of the year, and normally little puddles all over the place with frogs in them and other interesting little creatures, but not this year, unfortunately. And as Scott was showing you, there seems to be some rain sort of further in the east towards the mountains. I don't believe it's going to get here, and that has been the status of things this year. Those big clouds build, not as big as they were, or in a normal year without the El Nino effect, and they just kind of dissipate by the time they hit this part of the world. We'll get up to a high point here, and you'll be able to see the storm coming in. Tony, don't get on the bandwagon, Tony. It's unbecoming. You say, can we finish our rain dance today with some Zulu stamping, and that we would look very nice in grass skirts? Well, Tony, I'm of the opinion that unless you can do something well, you shouldn't really do it at all. And I am a very poor Zulu dancer. I think I was taught 3 steps once, and so if I can repeat them again and again if you'd like. I'm certainly not going to do it in a grass skirt, though. That would be very frightening indeed, especially for our younger viewers. In fact, they wouldn't even have to be younger viewers. It would still be terrifying. Try and get to a spot where we can see this storm nicely. But again, I would just want you to look around and see how these leaves are going yellow, they're going autumnal colors at a time when everything should be a verdant green. Then we go down the slope to where there's a little bit more water under here, and everything's a bit more green. We go back up again, and you can see the yellow begins. There's a little dwarf mongoose. Did you see it there?
No, it's just gone
around the termite mound there. We'll see if he'll pop his head up while I answer the question of Raffi Pipe. Hello, Raffi Pipe. There's the dwarf mongoose. Ah, Rusty Pipe, sorry. Rusty Pipe, you... Sorry, before I get to your question, Rusty Pipe, Nikki reckons she can spot a lizard. Center frame, under the 2 sticks. Ah, there is 2. It's a plated lizard. Nicola, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Can you see what she's looking at, Dave?
Not quite, James.
If you see the base of the dead stick there, or the dead stump,
yeah,
right? If you go just down and to the right of that, you will see a kind of goldish sheen. You got it there? You're on it. I mean, you are on it.
Mm.
It's not moving and it's not helping. Now, right, all right. While Dave tries to find that, we'll just see if it is actually a lizard. I'll actually get out and see if it'll move just now. Rusty Pipe, you want to know about termites and do they harm man-made structures out here? Rusty Pipe, normally we don't build with wood here, you see. Most, in fact 99% of South African houses are built with brick, which precludes attacks from termites, which is good. But termites do get into furniture, they do get into decking, certainly, and the lodges around here have extensive decking often, and they definitely have to be treated for termites. But we don't have the same problem. I know in North America, as far as I'm aware, you do have tremendous issues with termites actually getting into your walls, into your homes. We don't have that problem here because we don't tend to build in wood. Now, David, will you zoom in exactly as you were to the base of the thickest dead stump that you can see? There's some lightning over there. Don't worry, we're okay, everyone. I know that you're terrified for our safety. Now, watch that little bit of gold, and I'll see if it is actually a lizard. It will move if I approach it. And if it doesn't, I shall point it out with a stick. It is a lizard, I can see from here. Nicola Austin, that's an absolutely brilliant spot. From the final control, she saw this plated lizard. He is a magnificent fellow. He's black gold and a bit brown. He's called a giant. I don't know if he's a giant plated lizard. He's going to go down into the termite mound now. Did you see him? Did you get him, Dave? You didn't see him. Okay, I'll just show you the hole he went into. He went down in here. He's lying over here, and we could just see him poking out through there. And he was lying here. This is his little day bed. You can see he's lain here before, and he went down into the mound there. Brilliant. This is astonishing. I've often said to Nicola, she should do some presenting. She kind of giggles bashfully and says, oh, but I just don't know that I'd have enough knowledge. I think she'd be rather good at it, so maybe you should tell her, encourage her on Twitter, #Safari Live Questions, WildEarthTV, if you feel that Nicola Austin should take a drive. She's going to kill me for that. Brilliant spot. Dave, did you see it in the end or not?
I really did. No. But it was in the frame, apparently.
It was in the frame, don't worry. Everyone else saw what you filmed except you. Oh, now Sunisa, you're in India, and I'm so pleased to hear from somebody in India where I think some of the world's most beautiful wildlife lives. Sunisa, you say, what would we do to help the animals if the drought continues and starts to harm them? Sunisa, that's a difficult question. The answer probably is not very much. We're in a very large open system. It's 8 million acres, that's 3.5 million hectares, and short of pumping can do. It's much too big. Sorry, I know we went a little bit black screen there. It's much too big for us to start feeding animals. So we couldn't bring in feeding animals, although I have actually seen a few trucks driving in here. But for the entire region, of course, that would be totally impossible. Now, the big thing to remember here is that if there is not a natural diet of animals during a drought season like this, what happens is that there becomes the browse becomes a little weave. Sorry. What we're going to do, everybody, there's a lot of audio jumping and visual jumping at the moment because we're going through this dip. I'm going to speed through that dip at a great speed, and the other side we will continue this conversation. Okay, I think we're back. I hope we're back. Right. So, very difficult to do anything truly that is a good idea for animals. So, as I was saying, if we provide, for example, water is a little bit more easy to provide because you can dig a well and you can dig a borehole and pump water. What happens then is that the browse and the graze gets over-pressurized. The next time rain comes along, you create a major problem for erosion. And so, as painful as it may be, and it will be painful, if this carries on like it is not going to be easy for anyone, not for us watching, and not for us presenting, not for you watching, not for the animals concerned. But it may be that we have to let nature take its course. It'll be great for the carnivores. It will not be very pleasant for the herbivores. That's just the way it's going to be. Now, we have a wildebeest. There was a Christopher wildebeest. Let's head across to him now.
Ah, Monique in London. Ask and you shall receive. Here's a big wildebeest bull, and I'm hoping he is going to continue to do his territorial... Here we go. Look at this. His territorial marking and displays. You won't be able to see very clearly now, but there's a strong chance he's urinating as well as defecating in that spot where he scraped his hoof. He's done that once since we've seen him, and then another time with you now. And hopefully we'll get to see him doing it again. He doesn't appear to have any ladies in tow, so maybe he's an older boy who's lost his way with the ladies. Which asks the begging question, well then why is he bothering trying to allocate or mark this area for his territory? I'm not too sure. Let's see if we can creep a little bit closer. Not sure if the storm is creeping any closer, but the thunder is still rumbling out to the west. Sadly, it appears like the rain could be drifting in an easterly direction south of our area, so I'm not convinced we are going to catch any of it, sadly. But only time will tell. These storms can change direction and movement very quickly, and next thing you know, they'll be upon us. I think we're going to have to stop here. I hope that we'll be able to get you a few more views of the wildebeest. Maybe one more dusty display as he scrapes his hoof. No luck. Hello, Wolf Bernard. You would like to know what the difference is between a blue and a black wildebeest? Well, as the name suggests, the color is different. The blue wildebeest has this bluey kind of tinge to it, and the black wildebeest has a more black coloration. It also has more white on its tail and its beard. Let me just get the pictures out for you to show you exactly what they look like. So here's the black wildebeest, white on the tail, white on the mane, and considerably smaller than a blue wildebeest. Let's check the weight here. 100 to 180 kilograms. And the blue wildebeest is 250 kilograms, or 180 to 250 kilograms, so almost kind of twice the size, and lacks the white. The black wildebeest also lacks these brindles that you can see when the sunlight connects the blue wildebeest correctly, I think. Yeah, it does lack the brindles. Hence the name also sometimes being the brindle gnu. The horns are also a slightly different shape, I guess, different horn structure to a degree. And they also do not overlap in any areas of South Africa, or they shouldn't. Nowadays, with people buying and moving game as they please, you may find some reserves with both on them, private reserves with both animals on them, but technically they did not ever overlap prior to us getting involved. Monique, it's a great pleasure. I'm happy that that wildebeest stumbled onto the scene to help us fulfill your request. And the animals are coming out from all angles. James has just found you some warthog.
Look, a little piggy walking across this clearing. Also irritated by the flies, as am I, using his tail, using his little feet to hit the flies off his face. Her face, sorry. It's a little sow. Not sure you can call a little pig like that a sow. It's not nearly cute enough word. Let me just go back a bit. And you can see the storm building there. Lord. You are asking about Sorry about the signal issues. I'm sure it's the fact that there's a huge amount of electromagnetic radiation in the air as a result of the lightning that is steaming in. I think that might actually be the incorrect physical term. Let's just say electricity. Anyway, Tim, you want to know if a warthog's tusks, which that one does not have, well, the female's got little tusks, and the little ones don't have any tusks, are the same as the ivory in elephant tusks. Tim, I suppose chemically probably not very different, but it doesn't sort of work like ivory does, certainly. And so I think we're just going to let them gently walk off into the distance there. And so, Tim, no, they're not hunted for their ivory like elephants would be. And certainly it's not, I don't think it's illegal at all to trade in warthog tusks, but they don't, it's not the same.
Leaving one station with
We don't have great signal here, so let's just try and move slowly. And then Dave will just show you the amazing cloud formations. Look at that. That's stunning. And you can see there is some rain coming out of the sky there. And further to the south of that, there you can see some lightning. Now, Dave, what I'm going to challenge you with here is that European roller. I want to see if you can get some... you see the European roller there? It's that turquoise bird sitting out on the tree there. There he is. And then there's some lightning behind him if you look carefully. There, beautiful bird. Look at that subtle color. See the lightning there? Now, Nicola, of course, who remembers all sightings that have ever been seen here at Wild Earth, says that a few months ago Scott had some zebra standing probably in this clearing with the lightning going behind. Oh, look at that. So that is to the southwest of us, and the lightning would normally come in from the west, sometimes the northwest. If we're going to get a proper storm, it'll come in from the northwest. So I don't think that's going to dump any rain on us, but some group of blessed people is receiving rain now. And this European roller will fly home to Europe at some stage, into various parts of southern Europe, as our autumn comes. He might leave early this year, given the parlous state of his insect food. And then he will attempt to avoid the bird-shooting hunters, which of course abound in southern Europe during migration time. He doesn't want to end up in an Italian pasta. And hopefully he'll be back here next year. And I say that because I've had a guest, as I think I've said to you before, where there was an Italian guest, and I said, look, there's a European roller, and he didn't speak much English, of course, and he said, yes, delicious in the pasta. I said, but it's a European roller, it's not a chicken or a turkey. And he said, no, they eat them. Isn't he lovely? And he'll be hunting from that little perch. Beautiful lightning behind him. I think that's just fantastic. Preening, that preening process that they do all the time is so important for keeping the barbs and barbules and barbicels of the feathers all nicely lined up for flight. Okay, I'm going to head to Sydney's Dam. I'm not far from there. Scott's got an impressive male version of the large stripy antelope we saw earlier. I'll see you at the dam.
Well, this is not an impressive male kudu that we were hoping to show you, but still a pretty antelope, and he will get there eventually. His horns are about half as big as they will be when he will be considered majestic. Let's see if we can't get you some views of the bigger members of this bachelor herd, which are just a little bit ahead of him. It's quite thick here, so it is going to be tricky, but worth a try. I think this little gap is going to be as good as it gets. There is one that is going to pop out to the right of that green bush in the center of your screen. So let's just be patient for a second or two. I can see its spindly legs. There's another one further to the left there. There's a couple through here. Come on. Here he comes. couldn't copy your name, but one of you would like to know, is there another name for spiral-horned antelope? And not that I know of, but there may be. Oh, Tour Pro. So, no, not that I know of. Let me check in the book here if it says anything interesting about them, but I don't think that this book will be able to furnish us with any info on it. Worth a check, though. The eland is the largest of these spiral-horned antelope. No, eland, bongo, kudu, inyala, sitatunga, and bushbuck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 species make up the spiral-horned antelope. And it says here in brackets at the end, spiral-horned antelope. They are part of the Tragelaphini tribe. But that's all it says there. These are some giant eland, or Lord Derby's eland. We only get them in Central Africa and West Africa. So I've never seen one of these, but they're very, very pretty, almost a cross between a kudu and a regular eland, which is what we see here. This is a common eland. Lacks the vertical white stripes, but still has the spiral horns. They are ginormous. They weigh up to just about a ton, the big males. And this is a bongo. They are such cool animals. They too are huge. Males up to 300 kilograms. It's like an inyala on steroids.
It's like a jaguar version of a...
Exactly, it's like a jaguar version of a leopard. That is a great description. Biam, the wildebeest, thank you. So that was then the kudu. This is the greater kudu, which are the species we got a glimpse of now. Up in East Africa, you get the lesser kudu, which has got more white stripes on their body. Let's do a quick count, actually. So we'll count this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so I mean, it'll maybe vary, but the greater kudu have got less stripes than the lesser kudu, and the lesser kudu are smaller. Then, mountain nyala. Jeez, where do you find these? In Ethiopia. Very limited highland area. Kirsty, thank you, you rocket scientist. You said they live in the mountains of Ethiopia. I was looking for something more specific than that, Kirsty. But let's take a look on the map of Africa. Tiny little blob. So the mountain nyala is a rare species. Then we get the regular nyala. This is what we see here. The Bambis of the African wilderness with their little white spots on their bottom, all these white stripes here on their body. Very nice. And then the smallest of all of the spiral-horned antelope. Oh no, sorry, not yet. The sitatunga. We're on the way there, we're getting there. You get these in very wet areas, and what you can't see in any of these pictures is their hoof type, but you can see it living in the water here. They usually live in very thick reeds and swamps, and they've got specially designed hooves, which you can see here. They are long, those are 8 centimeters long, 80 millimeters, and splay very wide so that they can try and keep, not afloat, but at least above the surface of the water when they are moving through it. And last but not least, the bushbuck, the smallest of the spiral-horned antelope, which we also get here. So we get 3 out of the 6 here at Djuma. Not too bad, really. We are missing a couple. The eland, the bongo, and the sitatunga, essentially, and the various different races of inyala, I guess. Come on, the rain! Well, Mr. Henry has now decided to try and find his crocodile. He owns it. He should give it a name. as he was the one that discovered it, at least out of the Safari Live crew. I guess everyone else who could drive close to Sydney's waterhole knew that crocodiles existed there, but we didn't until recently. So good luck, and help James with spotting that little predator in the water.
Yes, indeed, everybody. I have come here purely for confirmation of my original suspicions, reconfirmed yesterday afternoon by Scott, that there is indeed a crocodile or two in this water. That isn't a crocodile in picture, that is a water buck, of course, and he is walking towards the crocodile, but I don't think he'll be in any danger. I don't think it's a very large crocodile. Keep watching the surface of the water, everybody. He will appear shortly. There he is. Can you see him there? He is the sort of blob in front of, well, basically sort of just over where that dove has just flown. I think that's a crocodile's head. And I know you can hardly see it from there, but I am using my very powerful binoculars. And I'm pretty sure that that's what that is. Sam? What do you think that is? Sam has got some actual binoculars.
Head poking out of the water.
You'd go with crocodile, would you? Fantastic. Right, everyone, before you accuse me again of spotting hippos where there are in fact crocodiles, I think we're going to move on from this waterhole. Nothing has come down to drink here, unfortunately, and I think it's probably a function of the fact that it hasn't been a, well, it was a very hot day earlier, but the afternoons turned out to be rather pleasant. So we're going to head down towards the western, western, I got it right for the first time this time. We're going to head down towards the western fringes of Djuma and see if there aren't any tracks around there. We might get an update also from Arathusa just to find out if they are seeing anything by way of leopard tracks. Again, I don't know where Shadow is at the moment, and I'll be fascinated to know, because the more... Alright, okay, sorry, while we're doing that, Scott now has a very good view of that spiral-horned kudu. Let's go and have a look.
Now, this is a brief but slightly better view of a fine specimen of a big kudu bull. You can see, even though he's walking, you can tell he's been around the block. And glad we could race you across for that. No luck with the crocodile yet, I presume. But even if you can see it, it's so far away, there's not much to really take in there. Hello, Deb in Ohio. You would like to know why the other spiral-horned antelopes are in fact called spiral-horned antelopes, because you can't really notice the spirals. Let's look at this bongo horn here. Look how it twists in on itself. It's not as distinctive like a corkscrew, but essentially it's like if you take a piece of spaghetti and just twist it on itself, it's going to have that twisting, spiraling effect. Wet spaghetti. It doesn't need to necessarily have big round loops in it to be spiraling, if that makes any sense. And I think if you watch how that ridge does twist, as if it was once a soft piece of spaghetti that's been turned in opposite directions from both ends, hence causing the spirals. The same for the eland here. Let's look at that. You see that? So I think, Deb, that should explain things. It's just that the kudu have got very, very pronounced, almost corkscrew horns. Very good. Well, Vernie, I will apologize in advance. The chances of seeing both a sable and an eland in the Sabi Sand are very, very rare, but you would like to add them to your list. So what I would suggest is telling as many people about Safari Live as possible. That way, hopefully us being able to take you to another place in Africa where they do exist. That's going to be the best and most likely possible solution for you wanting to tick those off your lists. However, there was a sable antelope seen at the Djuma waterhole camera late one night about a month ago. So it is possible, but in 4.5 years of driving in various parts of this reserve, I have yet to see a sable or an eland. I don't think eland have ever been recorded here, interestingly enough. However, sable used to be shot for rations here back in the day. Hard to believe, they were plentiful, but times have changed, mainly due to I'm told, the increased amounts of artificial water points in this reserve. Sable are not water reliant, and therefore when all the other animals that were water reliant were afforded the privilege of having water, they too brought with them competition amongst herbivores, and also but they brought a lot of predators around. Look at this. This is going to shock you guys. It's a terrifying view of one of the most dangerous beasts. Friendly wave from Sam there on the back. No doubt learning a lot from James. Probably not driving technique though, if that's anything to judge by. Goodbye. Good luck. James is a joker. How's everything coming along?
Well, better than this morning. We've seen about 4 mammal species.
Nice.
Certainly at least 4 times better than this morning.
Okay, good.
What is your plan from here?
I'm not sure. I'm
Yes.
in a bit of a daze at the moment as to what to do.
I feel one of us should check the west.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm keen to go there.
Well, there we go. Problem solved. I'll go and scratch around for any further sign of Karula.
Perfect.
And you can go west.
Okay.
Good deal. After
Come
you.
with me, everybody. You're going to sit here now with Sam and Scott.
Yeah, squeeze on with Sam while we decide what to do. Cheers, everyone.
See you later. Well done, everybody. That was a very smooth transition. You did an excellent job. Hardly noticed you jumping on the back here. So we'll pop across to Arathusa, see what's happening there, given that we've driven the expanse of Djuma this afternoon, and we've seen lots of nice small things. Maybe shadow has been found on Arathusa. Now before we do this, I must just erect an aerial, because if I don't, it will be impossible to hear Nicola Austin's dull